Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you an OP Spellblade build guide for Baldur's Gate 3. Now the Spellblade is a very popular class in all RPGs. I'm going to show you a really strong one for Baldur's Gate 3. We're going to first start off with the Paladin. Now what makes the Paladin useful for this is it does get some melee ranged attacks that will use magic like fire, electricity, radiant damage. So that kind of makes this kind of suited for it. We could also start with a bit of fighter here because the fighter does have some usefulness, but we don't have to add the fighter into this class. I'll get into where we can break this apart, and it is a really strong class, but we're going to add in the Warlock too, because this can give us up to 3 attacks like a fighter would get, but the ability to cast spells and do ranged damage too. So this is a really powerful, also modification of my first build that I did for Baldur's Gate 3. I like to have Oath of Vengeance for the Inquisitor's Might. This gives us an ally's weapon, 2 radiant damage, and daze enemies for 1 turn. Channel Oath Charge, which is a bonus action. Really nice just to have. Healing Radiance can be an okay option as well, but I think Oath of Vengeance fits this a bit better. So for our stats, we want to have our charisma up as high as possible, so we're going to dump that, take that to 17. We'll take our strength to 16. We can easily dump our dexterity if we get the dexterity gloves from early in Act 1 at the Githyanki Kresh. What's nice about that is we can just use our stats for other things like Constitution, which I think might be a bit more useful for this build. So we want to have our strength somewhere around 16, Constitution 15. Not ideal to have these on odd numbers, but we can take that up with an ability score or the Hag's Hair. So there is some options, and we're going to continue on with the build here. So the Paladin early on does not get a whole lot, but level 2 starts to get some smites, which really starts to give us damage in this build. So we also get a fighting style, which defense is always nice to take. +1 armor class helps out greatly. I'm a personal fan of great weapons fighting if you're using a 2-handed weapon. So when you roll a 1 or 2 dice, damage die for an attack, or a 2-handed weapon, we re-roll it once. So if you end up not rolling enough to hit, you'll be able to re-roll again, and then you'll hit. So very nice. But I do think that defense can be a valid option too if you rather go with single weapons, or even dueling if you're using a shield that can add 2 damage to your attacks, which is always a nice bonus. Bless, one of the greatest concentrations early game. If you don't have a cleric that's using this, you should take it. Now command is really nice too. I think that you should take all the versions of smite if you want to look up what type of enemies are weak to each type of damage. That can help as well. So these smites are quite powerful, so can be very useful. It sets a target on fire or knocks it prone. These do use your bonus action as well, so just be mindful of that. But very nice, and especially Wrathful Smite can give you Frightened, which is very powerful. It can completely take an enemy out of battle, basically. Command Drop is very useful early on, can get you some legendary weapons in Act 1. And it can give you great crowd control that's much needed. So I think that this is a great option. If you don't take Bless, you can take like Thaumaturgy or Shield of Faith to give +2 armor class, or Cure Wounds if you're desperate for some healing on the team. But the action economy doesn't always benefit healing in Baldur's Gate 3. Now at level 3 Paladin we get another spell slot, so you can take something that sounds decent. Concentrations are very popular for Paladins, so always have something concentrating, whether it's Shield of Faith to increase armor class, Divine Favor to deal an extra 1d4 radiant damage. One of those is nice just to have, but we also get our Divine Health, prevents diseases from affecting you, and we also get spell slots, and we get our Vow of Enmity, which gain advantage on attack rolls against the enemy. Channel Oath versus gives it a bonus action to give you advantage, which can be nice if you're having a hard time hitting things. Abjure enemies, frightens an enemy, they'll have disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls, and they cannot move. And then we also get our Hunter's Mark, which is a nice bonus action. 1-6 damage, mark your target, and you'll deal an additional 1-6 damage whenever you hit it with a weapon attack. That can add up damage pretty quickly. And we also get Bane, which is nice from our Oath. So Hunter's Mark, very nice just to have. At Paladin level 4 we get Lay Hands, so you can heal your team. And then we get ourselves another spell slot, so you can go again with whatever you need. Cure Wounds not the best option. Heroism can be pretty decent. For our feat, so imagine you take, if this is your tab, you're going to probably use the Hag's Hair on Charisma. I would recommend doing that because the extra Charisma is nice. You can get to 20 at level 4, which is super, super good. But since we don't have the Hag's Hair on this character, You could have taken that up to 20, but we'll leave it at 18. Increase our constitution up to 16 to give us a bit more health to work with, which is always very useful. Although there is some gear you can get later on that can help with it. Now at level 5, we get our extra attack and level 2 spells. So this is nice. We finally get ourselves some usefulness in the battlefield. The extra attack is huge. Branding Smite can make creatures impossible to turn invisible, which is really big. There's some fights that benefit you a lot, so Magic Weapon can be decent, give you extra 1 damage and 1 attack roll, or Aid to give yourself plus 5 health and increase their health by 5, so I like that for spell slots there. We also get ourselves Misty Step, always prepared, super powerful level 2 spell though, and Hold Person, so these are really nice spells just to have. The Vengeance Paladin's really great. At level 6 we get Aura of Protection, not the best, so we're going to add in Warlock, because this can actually get pretty crazy. For our cantrips, we'll go with Eldritch Blast. It's kind of a given that you take that. Minor Illusion can be nice to group enemies in a certain area, so that can be a great option as well. Or Bone Chill if you want to give them disadvantage on attack rolls and make it so they can't get healing, which is really useful against some enemies. So Minor Illusion or Bone Chill. For our subclass, there's 2 really powerful ones. The Goo, great old one, gives you Dissonant Whispers and Tasha's Hideous Laughter, and a subclass moral reminder: when you land a critical hit, that creature and anybody near enemies need to succeed a Wisdom saving throw or become frightened. So very nice. But I personally think the Fiend is really great for this, because we get Armor of Agathis, gives us 5 temporary health points, and deal 5 cold damage to any creature that hits you with a melee attack. And this uses a level 1 spell slot, so that's really nice to have. And the extra cold damage helps. Arms of Hadar prevents creatures from using reactions, which is really nice if you need to get away. And then we get ourselves the Dark One's Blessing. When you reduce a hostile creature to 0 health points, this gift from your patron gives you 5 temporary health points. So just continual healing. I think the Fiend is really nice, but you can also go the great old one. Either of these 2 are really great. For our selected spells, I like to just keep it as is, but also you can even take off Arms of Hadar and put on Hellish Rebuke. Hex is also a really nice option, so you can take one of those. Typically I prefer to go with that for a reaction that gives you fire damage, because I think that just works a little bit better for this build. But we're going to be able to attack twice soon, so this is where this gets pretty crazy. We can take our Armor of Agathis or Arms of Hadar there, and our Eldritch Invocations. This is where things get fun. We're going to get Repelling Blast to give us a pushback of 4.5 meters onto Eldritch Blast, which allows us to push things off a cliff sometimes. Sometimes it's even better just to use an Eldritch Blast versus attacking because of how you're set up. And then the Agonizing Blast adds our Charisma modifier to the damage it deals, and we got a nice +5 Charisma. Could be we get +4. We could get +5 if we have the Charisma Hag's Hair and increase that to 20. And then I have the Birthright Hat, which gives us another 2 Charisma, so that'd be +6 damage on our Eldritch Blast, which is quite nice. At our next level, we get our Pact Boon, which is huge. I like to take Scorching Ray. Kind of makes us more of a Spellblade feeling class with the fire damage. We also get to choose our Pact. I think Pact of the Blade is by far the best for Spellblade, because we get Bind Pact Weapon, which gives us our Charisma modifier on our damage. So whenever we use this, our spellcasting ability modifier is the damage that we'll be using instead of strength. So this makes it super more likely to hit, especially if you have 20 or 22 charisma. You're going to be hitting things much more frequently. So yeah, this is where the build gets crazy. 2 more levels and we can attack twice per turn, so that is really nice. I want to take Bone Chill there because it's just a good cantrip to have. And then Cloud of Daggers can give you good crowd control, just for putting at doorways. Crown of Madness, nah. I like Mirror Illusion, or Mirror Image to Illusion spell, 3 duplicates of yourself, and they each give you +3 armor class, so that's a plus. Yeah, it's really nice just to have that at +9 armor class there from that. But then also we can go with our ability improvement. So there's a couple good ones, as we can take something like Savage Attacker. When making melee weapon attacks, you roll your damage die twice and use the highest result. This is just flat out dealing more damage with your attack rolls at melee, which is really nice. I'm a personal fan of that. Sentinel can be good too. When an enemy moves within melee range of an ally, you can use a reaction to make a weapon attack against that ally or a target. That can be really useful just for stopping enemies. But we also have a great option with Great Weapon Master, which When you land a critical hit or kill a target with melee weapon attack, you make another melee attack, and as a bonus action that turn. So multiple attacks from kills, but then we also get a -5 penalty to attack rolls, but a +10 to damage. So this can be pretty nice to beef up our attacks with. So I like to take that personally because it can just give you a lot of versatility. But here we get Deepen Pack. This gives us an extra attack with our pact weapon. Now I just want to mention this does not work on honor mode. I get some comments, and that's the way Larian did it because it's reverting back to the classic D&D rules. So you won't get this on this, but it's still not a bad build because the Warlock does work alongside the Paladin really well. So yeah, Deepen Pack. On most playthroughs, most people that are watching this, that's not to worry. You're going to have 3 attacks at level 10. The fighter doesn't get 3 attacks till level 11, and that's their whole shtick. So the fact that we can do this with the Warlock Paladin is crazy. Highly recommend this class because it just gets so powerful. Fireball, it fits the theme of Spellblade perfectly, so we're going to take that because Fireball is just, it's a great spell. If you got a fight, I cast Fireball, and it's over. So we're also going to go with, for our Eldritch Invocation, and speak with animals without using a spell slot's really nice if you want that, but I think a Devil's Sight, you can see in darkness, both magical and non-magical to the distance of 24 meters. So this gives us really great range. We can set up darkness, and yeah, it just allows you to shut down the team. So yeah, darkness there, create darkness with heavily obscures and blinds. We can also take off like whatever one of these you find you're not using often. If you use your reaction for something else, you can take off Armor of Agathis or Hex here. I recommend always having Hex prepared. It's a concentration, but it gives disadvantage. It can be very useful at certain times. Hex Dexterity can actually drop some creatures to being basically useless. But if you want to, you can also just take Darkness here, because this is pretty good. Or even Hunger of Hadar. Creatures in this will be blinded and take damage at the end and start of their turn. So that can be really nice as well with level 3 spell slots. So whatever you prefer there, it's going to be pretty strong either way. Fighting in darkness is cool. Now at level 6 Warlock, we do get Dark One's Own Luck, which gives you 1d10 to ability checks, which can be nice in dialogue. But I think another way that can make this build is really nice is by going with the fighter. So we give a second win, so a bit of healing. 1d10 plus 1, so bonus action to give a bit extra health, and then we get another fighting style, so we can take defense again to get that +1 armor class. Very nice. I think this actually works a little bit better than adding a couple more levels of Warlock, even though we will get higher level Warlock spells, but you can go Warlock. And if you want to see a more in-depth video, I have a video on the Lock-it-in, it's called. It's a Paladin Warlock, so I have that. It's level 5 Paladin, level 7 Warlock. But for the purpose of this, we're going to add in the fighter to make this more of a Spellblade-like class, because at fighter level 2, this is one of the best second 2-level dips that you can do in all of Baldur's Gate 3. By adding this, we get ourselves Action Surge, which Action Surge gives you an extra action to use this turn. So you can go hard with your 3 attacks and then pop an Action Surge and do 3 more. You can do some Smite, you'll deal a lot of damage. This gets really crazy, so that's what makes this Spellblade so powerful, is we get ourselves that. So looking into the gear side of things, we're gonna be, I'll just show off a few different pieces that you can go for. So Birthright Hat will bump our charisma. It's only 20 here, but if you had the Hag's Hair and didn't increase your constitution, that'd be 22, which is really great for just overall damage. I like the Cloak of the Weave because this really sets, it feels like something that the Spellblade should have. +1 to spell save DC and spell attack rolls, and absorb elements, so once per short rest, take damage from the next elemental attack targeting you, take half damage, so less damage to you, and then you get a 1d6 of that elemental type damage, so just flat out more damage, always nice. Flawed Helldusk Armor. When you're hit by a foe within 2 meters, it might take 1d4 fire damage, really nice, and then -1 piercing. You can also go with like the classic Reaper's Embrace, which you'll get pretty early on, or even like the Helldusk. They'll take your armor class to 20, and this will take it up to 22. So one of those is really great, but I like the Flawed Helldusk for sort of purposes of this. Gloves of Dexterity, as I said, you can dump Dexterity, but if you want to keep them, you can go with, really, there's a lot of great gauntlets in the game. If you want to even dump Strength, you can take the Hill Giant gauntlets. Gemini Gloves, cantrips targeting foes, and Alex can target an additional creature. The same target can be chosen twice, so that can be a great option if you just want to use your cantrip Eldritch Blast alongside it. Pretty nice. Helldust Boots gives you like a Misty Step, but it does fire damage, a 2d8 of fire damage, and hits in a 3-meter zone. For necklaces, you can go with the greater health amulet. It'll take your health up to 143, so that's really nice. Amulet of Ball gives you bleeding on attack, the first attack against a creature, which is also nice. Killer Sweetheart, there's nothing better than a critical smite that deals a lot of damage. I like that a lot. And also Caustic Band, weapon attacks also deal 2 acid damage, so that's pretty good. I like using for our sword here. I like the Sword of Chaos. It gives us +2 acid from the ring, but then also a +1d4 necrotic, and gives us a heal of 1d6. So very nice to have, plus weapon enhancement too. There's also a lot of other great swords. The Baldur Great Sword is also a nice choice. So any one of those can make a very powerful spell blade. And what's nice is you got your Bind Pact weapon. So that's your magical weapon now with 3 attacks. You got Eldritch Blast, which can do a nice 6 to 15 damage, and gives extra force damage. 3 attacks of those. You got your Scorching Ray, which can be upcast to do 4 rays. If you want to get the level 4 spell slots, you can go ahead with going forward in level, but I think that this is pretty great because we got that action surge, which really opens up our ability to do damage because we can attack 6 times with smites. That gets pretty powerful pretty quickly. So there's lots of different smites you can use, like Searing Smite if you want to add a little bit of fire damage. You can also obviously just go with a plain old Divine Smite, which does upwards of 51 damage. You can do that 6 times. That's pretty good Nova damage. And yeah, it's a pretty fun Spellblade. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video useful. And if you did, please hit the subscribe button below. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.